So if you watch my channel, you'll realize that I don't do top movies of the year list till about 6 months into the next following year. The reason why I do that is because I want to watch as many films from the year, as many as I physically can, in order to get a good sort of sampling size of movies that came out that year. However, there was something that happened at the end of 2023. The writer and actors strike sort of moved some films over because the actors couldn't fully promote their films, so some of them got shoved over to the next year, and I can't consider them 2024 films, so they won't be in the top list of 2023 or 2024, so I figured I'd make a list to sort of put them all together. So the original video of this I made before kept getting blocked because I had clips of a movie, so I'm going to just redo the whole thing and just cobble it together like a Frankenstein. But the first one I want to mention is 100 Yards. This is a movie, a martial arts film directed by Zhu Haofeng. This one is a really interesting little labyrinthine little mix of competition and masculinity. We're following a martial arts school, and there's the master's son versus the master's top pupil. However, the son gets pushed out, and he wants to keep going after the position that his father gave to the top pupil instead, and there's some stuff going on, some subterfuge, some hidden agendas. It's all very novel-like, full of action. I really like this one because of the good cast, but also the themes. It's a very interesting little hidden gem of a film. It came out many years ago, but finally got a DVD release in 2025, so I watched this one. The next one is Stop Motion. This is an extra one I threw in. This one is a horror film. It's British. It's on Shudder, but it's about a woman who does stop motion filmmaking. However, she lives under the shadow of her own mother, and she meets a little girl who helps her get out of a creative rut and start a new project that's a little bit more personal to her. However, it starts to take a physical and mental toll on her, and a psychological break is impending. This is a weird, creepy little homage to Harryhausen and stop motion stuff, but the way it's used is very macabre, and I really enjoyed this one. It's a really underrated gem for sure. And in terms of the movies that were supposed to come out in 2023, one example is A Woman of the Hour, directed by Anna Kendrick. This movie showcases that she's a bit of a film nerd. Her Criterion Closet video showcases that she's a huge fan of Ingmar Bergman. And you can see the influence in the film, lots of static shots, lots of moving shots, very subdued camera work, very creepy story. Less is more, what's shown, what's not shown. But this is a simple story about a woman, aspiring actress who went on the dating game show where you go on and you answer questions and pick a blind date out of 3 men. One of them was a serial killer, and we're also following him and his several of his kills. Very creepy moments, but very artful and subdued. Anna Kendrick is a force to be reckoned with behind the camera, as well as in front, of course. She does a fine balance by not giving herself too much of the spotlight and giving some to the killer. Very good performance, very good film. A lot of people thought it was too boring, but that's number one. The rest of these recommendations aren't in any order, but the next one would be The Bike Riders. This film is a nice showcase of old school sort of filmmaking. It's directed by Mike Nichols, who I've seen all of his films. But Tom Hardy plays a biker who starts a motorcycle club and later gets Johnny and clashes with his wife, who doesn't want her family to be part of this dangerous club as it starts to become more and more powerful throughout the years. It's based off of a book. And we get a lot of great moments like the fighting and the violence and the tough guy moments. Tom Hardy's like so good. Like, he'll always pick a weird accent, but he's a really great performance. You've got newcomers like Austin Butler doing a really good job. He's almost got this cool James Dean kind of quality about him. And of course, Jodie Comer's always solid. You know, her accent's a little bit weird in this movie, but she's definitely one of the main. She's like the narrator, and they kind of rely on her too much, but the movie is a tour de force of excellent performances in a time period, really nice costumes and story, and lots of themes of masculinity and control and leadership and all that stuff too, so definitely recommended for me. Next one is Leroy, Texas. This is a lesser known movie, but it does have a 100% certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This is about a sad sack, very sad, and he's about to end his own life in a parking lot. However, a man enters his car mistaking him for Hitman and gives him a giant wad of cash and tells him who he has to kill. So he thinks he should go warn this person first, but then he realizes, why don't I just hang out and get involved? However, he gets his PI friend who wants to be a private investigator involved, and then it becomes a sort of weird thing where they're trying to warn off the person and stop this hitman. But this hitman is definitely coming for his pay, and he's definitely someone who won't let things go. Very creepy performance for that actor. Dylan Baker is usually known for playing, like, you know, professor characters and soft-spoken characters. It's great to see him out of his wheelhouse as a dangerous sort of force to be reckoned with. He is an older man, but he's very dangerous and very violent. And of course, you got some nice smaller roles from the main guys, you know, John Magaro and his buddy. So definitely a little underrated gem. I liked it a lot. Green Knight is a Taiwanese LGBTQ film about a woman who works at an airport, and she's about to catch a smuggler when she decides to let her go. However, the woman shows up at her apartment, and the two of them start a deal so that the airport lady can leave her abusive husband, and the two of them end up falling into a weird little romance. This has little inklings of like a Wong Kar-wai type of movie. It's definitely not up there, but it's definitely inspired by that. And I really like the story and the slow burn of the romance. It's not like a trashy, exploitative, them making out, you know, all the time, but they keep bringing in characters to sort of keep them apart, and it feels really natural, and I really enjoyed the moodiness and the atmosphere, and the ending is really bleak and good, but it's definitely a movie that also showcases some really good performances from, you know, some really good actors that don't get to shine too much, but they take a risk by doing this artsy drama crime thriller film. The next one is The Last Stop in Yuma County. This is very similar in tone to Leroy, Texas, but this one has more action going on. I almost didn't include this movie on the list. I do like it, but I don't like the ending. But the rest of the movie is a potboiler. This is about two men who rob a bank, and they decide to take several people at a gas station sort of restaurant hostage. So there's a woman there, she's the wife of the sheriff, and then there's a couple of patrons, and we're basically just waiting because there's a gas truck coming in, and the bank robbers want to steal a car, but they can't do too many things because, you know, they can't. And then the waitress and all the people there are trying to get help from other people who come by. It's a very tense film with a really great standoff in the middle of the film. Movie kind of loses steam near the end there, but I still enjoyed it, and this one's definitely recommended. Next one is Scrapper. This one's about a inept school system and government system, because Georgie's a little girl whose mom dies, and she basically is living alone and pretending to have relatives until Jason, her father, shows up, and he intends to sort of try to make up for not being there when she was growing up. However, Georgie doesn't trust him, locks him out of the place. This is a very simple, short movie, mainly held up by the really good acting. You know, you've got Jason's played by Harris Dickinson, and he's like an up-and-coming actor who's really good agent who just manages to slam all these excellent films like Beach Rats and The King's Man and that boat movie, Triangle of Sadness. So this is another underrated little coming-of-age sort of found family sort of film. It definitely doesn't do anything too new, but it definitely tugs the heartstrings in the correct way, and I really enjoyed it overall. This was definitely underrated for sure. Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person is a French-Canadian film. This is another underrated movie. I saw this one playing at the local independent theater, but I didn't get the chance to watch it. However, the unique title makes it very, you know, memorable. This one's about a vegan vampire woman who lives at home with her parents. However, she's lazy. Not lazy, but she also like physically can't kill people to get their blood. So she relies on her parents to do most of the blood hunting for herself and them. However, they don't want to, you know, carry her around anymore, so they decide to kick her out and say, just get your own blood, okay, because we can't keep feeding you like this. You know, she's kind of like a deadbeat teenager, so she's out and about hungry, and she sees a young bullied teenager who wants to end his own life, so she befriends him and tries to get him to do his bucket list before he actually does take his own life. And then she realizes she can find people who want to end their own lives and then find a way to humanely take their blood without having to hunt or take out innocent people. So this is a weird little dark comedy mix. It doesn't definitely go too dark. It's more of a comedic sort of fun Wes Anderson style kind of story. It doesn't go too hard on the black comedy, but it definitely is an enjoyable film. Definitely quirky and unique and fresh and all the things you want a vampire film to be. So definitely recommended. Baby Assassins 2, Two Babies, is a sequel to the sort of independent small action comedy. Now the first one's a really fun little gem because it's got some great action choreography, but the second one doesn't have the same villain. Instead, the girls are kicked out of their Assassin's Guild for not paying their dues on time, and they are hunted by two amateur assassins who want to take their place. So they're being hounded and harassed. Now, this movie doesn't have the same tight, action-packed choreography of the first film. The first film has two amazing fight scenes, and this one doesn't really have any. It's more just two guys chasing them with guns and a little bit of fighting here or there. There's a little bit of action here or there, but I still think the movie's strong enough on its own without... it changes the sort of style of the movie. If the first one's just an action comedy, this one at least is changing things up a little bit by changing the villains. You know, I liked the dynamics different by having two villains and not having them be brawlers. So I really like the duo pair of actresses, and there's a third movie coming out, so I definitely recommend Baby Assassins 2. Mars Express is a French animated film. This one's really awesome. Definitely inspired by stuff like Ghost in the Shell and Surrogates. This one's about private detective androids going out and trying to solve a disappearance and finding a major conspiracy that could affect a lot of people. Honestly, I don't remember the plot too much, but I remember the action was amazing. This movie is super violent, very, very action-packed, dynamic direction and animation and story. Oh yeah, this is the one where the sidekick character, he's like a bad dude. Like, I think he beat his wife or something, and they don't want him around, and he's like moping about it. And the main character, she's got like alcohol problems. So they definitely add some nuance to the main characters. They're definitely gumshoe cliches, but they're robots too. So definitely inspired by, you know, other sci-fi films, but they managed to meld them all together into something unique and refreshing, and definitely picked it up on Blu-ray. I'll rewatch this one for sure a lot. And the last film recommendation that won't make it into my 2024 list is Magazine Dreams. This movie is directed by Elijah Bynum. This movie, he did the movie called Hot Summer Nights. It's like a coming-of-age crime thriller movie with Timothée Chalamet romancing the sister of his drug-dealing partner during one hectic summer. So I wasn't expecting this kind of movie from him, because that was kind of like a lighthearted, kind of easygoing sort of, you know, summer vibes kind of movie. Magazine Dreams is not that. Magazine Dreams is basically Taxi Driver and Joker on steroids. This one's about Killian Maddox. He lives a very awkward sort of life. He lives alone in a house and takes care of his own grandfather. So he probably gets money from that, but he also works at a grocery store that he hates, and he definitely has this weird sort of edge against the customers and doesn't like them. But he has one big dream: to be on a magazine, a big bodybuilder like his heroes. And he definitely has one singular goal and focus, and he might have autism, but the movie definitely doesn't outright say it, and it doesn't also tell you what time period this movie takes place in, but he essentially has this one singular goal, and nothing can stand in his way, except he's got a lot of mental health issues. So one of the major things that he has going is he calls this hardware store and they refuse to repaint something or something, and he gets into a fight with them, and then they go back and forth in a cycle of violence that keeps escalating throughout the film. And then he's also trying to romance this co-worker of his at the grocery store, leading for like probably one of the most awkward 15-minute dinner scenes of all time. You get lots of character development, quotable lines. This movie is just a tour de force. It's a huge shame that people, you know, are sleeping on, you know, Jonathan Majors. We know he's a major talent. You know, we've seen him in Creed 3. We've seen him in that plane movie, Desolation or something, or I don't remember what it's called. You know, he's been in other things too, obviously, Lovecraft Country, but this movie is just like an Oscar-worthy performance. So I'm just going to straight up say it, it was. And I know people are probably like still mad about his domestic abuse stuff, but you know, that's over with. He's done his counseling, he's now married with a new woman. I think a comeback's inevitable, to be honest, but this type of performance he has, he literally killed his body to get the shredded look. The movie has amazing crash-out sequences, it's heart-wrenching. People also call this the incel movie because they think it's like for incels or something, kind of like the same way they thought Joker would inspire violence or Taxi Driver would incite violence. Everyone always says that about a movie. You think a movie has enough sort of, what's the word, enough, pop culture influence to turn people violent. I don't think that's a thing, and so for that reason alone, watch the movie, because people think you shouldn't watch the movie. It's an amazing film about masculinity, toxic masculinity, about ego, about mental health issues. It's about incel culture a little bit. It's about all sorts of ranging topics and themes, moments that make you squirm in your seats because of how uncomfortable you are. But it's definitely a movie that's interesting and definitely worth checking out. It did eventually get released in theaters. I watched it and it was blown away in the theater by that film. And no one watched it, of course, but still, I mean, a little hidden masterpiece here. So those are 10 film recommendations of 2023.